Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This video is probably going to be, part 3 now of my peer review of Terrence Howard's proof, actual mathematical proof that 1 times 1 equals 2, apparently. The version that he put in his book, aptly titled 1 times 1 equals 2, I just finished up, actually just finished up editing it, and it turns out this is the finale. This is the last part of my review of Terrence Howard's proof. Just right off the bat, I just wanted to address a couple of things. Again, I know the sound quality it varies. It's not that great. I'm still kind of learning how to adjust the gain settings on my microphone, or like how far away my face needs to be from the microphone. So I get it. The footage you're about to see, the majority of the footage, was actually recorded about a couple of months ago now. I recorded it over winter break. I am back at work now, but I'm getting a chance to go back and edit all this footage together. So I can't change what was already recorded, and I'm definitely not going to re-record it. I've been pretty busy with work and all that. This is not my job. I am not a YouTuber, as you can probably tell for a number of different reasons. Here's another disclaimer that, again, this video and this video series in general is not intended to be a bullying or cyberbullying of Terrence Howard in any way. We're just doing a very professional peer review of his book. I am criticizing his book in many ways because it's really not a good book. If you notice, if you're a fan of my channel, or if you've noticed my content, or if you've even just gone and looked at my channel, you could tell that pretty much every single video is about Terrence Howard. It's not because I'm obsessed with him or anything. I find this book to be one of the most interesting things ever created. One of the most interesting things ever written, by far. And you don't find a lot of pseudo-mathematicians out there. There's a lot of pseudoscientists. Pseudoscientists are a dime a dozen. And there's a bunch of channels out there that debunk pseudoscientists, because one of the common things with pseudoscientists is that they have a bunch of theories, a bunch of words that they don't have any math to back it up. It's rare that you come across someone who's literally doing fake math. Pseudo-mathematician, or pseudo-mathematics. Terrence Howard is absolutely probably the only person in that category. And so I am very uniquely qualified to criticize this book, to criticize his work. I have a whole series of videos now about this. You should go check them out. My field of expertise is mathematics, and secondary to that, computer science. And what falls into both of those two is theoretical logic. I've actually taught a summer course in theoretical mathematical logic, with how to actually write proofs. I've taught all that. I've taught mathematics in several different subjects for many years, so I'm very qualified to do this. I've also written curriculum in math. I've been on a textbook adoption committee. There's a lot of reasons why this is totally up my alley as an expert. And it's also just a hobby. It's just fun. I find this to be one of the funniest things to do. So I do appreciate your support as far as giving likes, subscribing to the channel, because it will push my videos higher up in the algorithm. More people watch them, and they seem to think that they're pretty funny. I have a very high like to dislike ratio. Just to kind of review the system that I'm using here, I'm highlighting stuff in green if I feel like it's correct, or if I agree with it, if it's a new idea. I'm highlighting things in pink if I disagree with them, or if they're definitely incorrect. And the most common thing with Terrence Howard is he often says things that are not correct or incorrect. They're just confusing. You're really not even sure what he's talking about. So you're going to see a lot of yellow coming up in this video. Let's get right back into it, pick up where we left off. Unfortunately for the latter generations that would eventually come to inherit this once thriving Mediterranean metropolis, the truth would come too late. Okay, sorry, can't ignore that. I hate that. That's oof. That should be TOO. Now, for the last 6,000 or plus years, our ancestors enslaved our thinking with that dogma for generations upon generations, leading to our great-grandparents, who in like manner indoctrinated their children, who also in turn would propagate these mathematical lies to the rest of the world. Wow. I don't want to say anything I don't want to say anything that might sound inflammatory toward him as a parent, but if this is the kind of math that he's teaching his children, let me just go ahead and highlight this indoctrinated word here. Maybe I'll just do it in blue. So he's saying that all the math that we have ever done as a species, people that have studied math, people that developed mathematical theories, again by studying patterns and describing patterns, he's saying that that's indoctrination. Yet he's given absolutely no proof whatsoever that 1 times 1 equals 2 and said, believe me, this is the truth. Your great-grandfathers and all that were deceived by some godlike creature or some godlike being that came and gave them the wrong multiplication table. This is so ridiculous. This is still part of his proof. He thinks that this is what a mathematical proof sounds like or looks like. It's incredible. Okay, so mathematical lies are definitely not mathematical lies. Because of their wrong approach to the rules of multiplication. Again, we came up with multiplication, so how can you be wrong with something that we as a species created? It doesn't make any sense. Because of their wrong approach to the rules of multiplication, their systems would eventually fail because they were all built upon a faltering foundation, suffering the damages from being based upon a principle of implied predictability of loss. I'm not familiar with that phrase, implied predictability of loss. I don't know if that's a real phrase. It almost sounds like something from economics, which has some roots in mathematics, like game theory and stuff like that. Like when you have like a no-win, no-sum game or zero-sum game, predictability of loss. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Somebody in the comments, feel free. Point out if you've heard that, if you know what that means. He's definitely not using it correctly, just like he didn't use, let's scroll up. Like he didn't use axiom correctly. He didn't use fallacy correctly. He didn't use rational correctly. He didn't use the associative commutative laws correctly. He didn't use the word arithmetic correctly. He didn't use the word function correctly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure whatever the implied predictability of loss is, he's probably not using it correctly, if it's a real thing. You see, when 1 times 1 equals 1 is implied that 50% of the potential will be lost at their initial contact of these numeric entities. Again, giving human-like features entities. Like the number 1's an entity. Wow. So that's not correct either. Nothing's being lost with this 1 times 1. It's just saying that you're counting the number 1 once. Okay, I got 1, 1. Hey, how many 1s do you have? 1. Oh, cool. It's 1. You start off with 2 values on one side of the equation, and in the process of multiplying them, one of the values goes missing, and no one cares what happens to it? Jesus. Goes missing. No, it didn't go missing. It was just an indicator of how many times you are counting something. It's not that complicated. It's really not that complicated, Terry. God, this thing is long. It is a false axiom that, unfortunately for mankind, has become the very cornerstone of our misunderstanding concerning math and the very nature of the universe. An untruth told to a naive people by someone they placed so much trust in that no one dared to question their authority. How is it possible that there is not one-sided reference in recorded history where someone has questioned the validity of this clearly unbalanced equation? That should end with a question mark. Ends with a period. So, I'll tell you right now, every other person reading or watching this knows the answer to this question. Let me just highlight it blue. How is it possible that no one ever in recorded history has ever question the validity of 1 times 1 equals 1. I wonder. Maybe because it's a stupid question. Maybe no one's ever challenged the validity of 1 times 1 equals 1 because that's a stupid thing to do. A blatant lie that has masqueraded itself as the first truth of mathematics. No, there's no first truth. The first thing you learn in mathematics is how to count. Okay, I've said that before. 1 times 1 equals 1 just because it's at the very beginning or corner of the multiplication table. If you think about the natural numbers, it's not the first thing that you ever learn in math. I don't know where he's getting that from. When it could very well be the biggest lie ever told in the history of humanity. No. With possibly the most harmful and longest lasting potential consequences. A lie that continues to be propagated by those who worship this false concept and profit from the loss of others. Okay. What does profit have to do with anything? There are grifters out there who do profit from the loss of others. I would say Terrence Howard is one of them. If he was selling this book, I'd say he's definitely a grifter. In his drone contest thing, he was kind of selling like a little drone kit or something to put it together. He fraternizes with some people that are definitely known grifters. I'm not going to really name names because they might sue me. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are profiting from the loss of others. I'm sure that if Terrence Howard could, sell, I don't know, like a linchpin supplement or something and sell it for a bunch of money, some snake oil, I'm sure he would. His career's not been going anywhere recently. I haven't really seen anything recently. I think he might have been a scab. Is that the right word? Like when they were on strike, like the actors, I think, or the writers, some guild was on strike recently, and I think he was one that was like still taking roles, basically, crossing the picket line, so to speak. So I think I think Terrence Howard might be a scab. That's just kind of a by the way. Why did someone find it necessary to put a cap on that early Mesopotamian civilizations? On that early Mesopotamian civilization. So that's, again, subject, verb, disagreement. He's mixing up singular and plural. Anyway. Why did someone find it necessary to put a cap on the early Mesopotamian civilization potential for... Oh. It's supposed to be an apostrophe. That early civilization's potential for advancement. That's something that comes up a lot as I've been reading this book, is he's really bad with possessive versus plural. He doesn't know when to use apostrophes. I will not speculate. Really, I will not speculate, even though he said it was a god. A godlike being that came down from the heavens and gave us a multiplication table on stone tablets. Yet he says, I will not speculate. Perhaps it was the best thinking of the time. Better than this. As to where our civilization could have advanced, had we not been misled by this false statement, again, it is of no potential to speculate. True. It is of no benefit to speculate. Nevertheless, we are in the here and now, and we must hit the reset button and do a full about-face concerning our approach to mathematics. In light of this exercise, I feel that it is necessary for us to throw out the false positives and erroneous results. False positives? That sounds like a drug test or something. I don't know what he means by false positives. I've taught about false positives when I've taught like Bayes' theorem, when I've taught statistics. Like if you were taking like a diagnostic test or some sort of medical test and it came out positive but it was actually negative, that that does happen, and I can go into details about why that will always be the case because of statistics. But anyway, he's not using that properly. Let me do that little X thing that I was doing. Right. I'm Xing out words that are phrases that are real, but he's using them incorrectly. He's using them as like figures of speech, which is an odd thing to do in a math or science text. Let's see. 1 times 1 equally... he's doing the ing thing again. Okay, I just want to cross that out completely. I hate it. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an equation that predicts a negatively oh my god. I don't know if I can even read. This is harkening back to Walter Russell. Remember right at the beginning of this? It was a quote from Walter Russell about... Let's go back and read that. It was excellent. The keystone of the entire structure of the spiritual and physical universe is rhythmic, balanced interchange between all opposites. A quote from Walter Russell. Again, the godfather of word salad and Terrence Howard's biggest inspiration. And also a little known fact that Einstein was a big fan of Walter Russell. There's even that photograph of him holding that book. Alright, I know it's going to be a long video when I edit it together. We're almost done. Let's try to get to the end without... if we can make it. If we can make it. Hang in there. Alright. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an equation that predicts a negatively discharging universe without the ability to overcome the radiational... Hold on. Radiational. Wow. Oh my god. Well, okay. Let me finish the sentence, then I'll highlight it. Because this might be the most confusing sentence I've ever read in my life. 1 times 1 equaling 1 is an equation that predicts a negatively discharging universe without the ability to overcome the radiational expanse of magnetism, because 1 would have to have a negative discharge in order for it not to bond with the second 1, and a universe made up of all discharging particles could never assemble into molecules and other more complex integrated systems that we experience every day. Oh my god. This might be the worst sentence ever written. What the hell does radiational mean? The radiational expanse of magnetism. Sounds like a good name for like a metal band. Like an album. Yeah, it's like the band would be called Lynchpin, and their new album is called the the Radiational Expanse of Magnetism. Let's label this the most confusing sentence I've ever read in my life. Ever. Well, I put some question marks over here. I'll just put a big question mark right there on the whole thing. Like, what does this mean? I love this little phrase, radiational expansive magnetism, because, again, it's completely nonsensical, and it sounds kind of fun. All right. Bear in mind, this is all part of his proof that 1 times 1 equals 2. Keep that in mind. 1 would by necessity have to be a positive integer in order for the gravitational and centripetal effects of electricity to accumulate atoms of low potential together into systems of high potential and ultimately build the wondrous universe abundant in its dynamic energy. Cool. With 1 times 1 equaling 2, we have a balanced equation where the laws of universal equilibrium and the conservation of universal energy remain intact. So that's not right. That is not a balanced equation. He likes to put the word universal in front of everything. Have you noticed that? Like, he just says universal, like, he's like, oh, the law of conservation of energy. Yeah, the law of universal conservation of energy. Yeah. It's about the universe. Therefore, 1 times 1 must be equals 1 must be rewritten as 1 times 1 equals 2. Nope. Were it not for the temporary hiding place that 1 times 1 equaling 1 has found behind the imaginary walls of the identity property, an imaginary fortress for any number wanting to break free from the laws governing the physics of our universe. Jeez. All they have to do is claim sanctuary under the identity property, or should we say the false identity property? No, we shouldn't. Whose towering walls have never been breached. Why? Because they don't exist. What? So the walls don't exist around the identity property, yet I don't understand this. I don't know what is happening here. This gets more confusing as it. Let's make a little graph. I know he's not good with graphs, but like, let's see. As the page numbers increase, I'll put page numbers on the x-axis here, and then this will represent how confusing this book is. How confusing the book is, like, as the page numbers go, it goes like it's an exponential curve. I'll put like confusing level, the level of confusion. As the book goes on and on, I'm exponentially becoming more and more confused. I don't know what any of this. He says imaginary, and that also means something in math, so don't say it. They can claim sanctuary, like they're saying that the laws don't exist because of the identity property. Okay. He's also, again, personifying or anthropomorphizing numbers and ideas, saying that they can claim sanctuary. They're not people. They can't do stuff. What was that meme or that like commercials? Like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Not just the imagined walls, but the identity property itself. It only exists in the 2D binary world of imaginary numbers. Oh my God. Stop doing this. Stop. So, again, imaginary numbers are square roots of negatives, and they lead into the complex numbers, which is a field, and imaginary numbers are amazing, and they're great at describing certain things and solving polynomial equations, and in fact, they give us a sort of a completeness to the solutions of polynomial equations because all of them have solutions in the complex numbers. Binary, so 2D does not mean binary. Two-dimensional doesn't mean, that's not what binary means. Binary means something can be either one thing or another. True or false. On or off. In computers, it's 1 or 0. A world which cannot exist by definition alone. Well, here we are, Terry. A 2D universe lacks the necessary stability provided by the third and fourth dimensions. A stabilizing property that is the birthright and natural consequence of the laws of action and reaction. He doesn't even know that that's Newton's third law of motion. Alright, it's confusing. This whole thing is confusing. The whole book. But he can't even quote, he just keeps saying the law of action and reaction. And then he misquotes it saying, an action times an action is a reaction, which is not even Newton's third law. For those following along at home, Newton's third law of motion is that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's what he's trying to allude to here. A law that forces all things in creation to be hinged upon its very existence. A set of proven laws and a necessary consequence of nature that is in direct conflict with the very notion of 1 times 1 equaling 1, calling into question the very authority held by the identity property, a property of mathematics that is diametrically opposed to the three-dimensional world, wow, that we've experienced every single day of our lives. Nevertheless, let's explore the ruins of the identity property and see what relics await. He hates the identity property. He really doesn't like it. For anyone that's still unfamiliar, the identity property, the one he's referring to, because there's, so let me just, the one he's referring to is the identity property for multiplication. And that's that anything, which I'll just call A. Because again, A can represent multiple things. It can mean different things depending on the context. That's why we use letters, Terry. We don't use them just to like start naming the number 1 like 15 different things. A times 1 equals A. Anything times 1 is itself. You're counting it one time. You have one instance of it, one occurrence of it. Many ways to say that, but every human being on planet Earth, except for Terrence Howard and his cult followers, they understand this. Children understand this. Interestingly, there's another identity property that he never brings up either. Let's say any number A plus 0 is equal to itself as well. And just for kicks, we'll say all A in the real numbers. So those are the two identity properties that matter a lot in abstract algebra, because you can come up with different number systems, and depending on what objects and what operations you're talking about, you can have the identity property that applies to a number of different things. But all it means is that when you use the binary operation, when you use an arithmetic operation with that element, like 1, that's the identity element for multiplication, it leaves something unchanged. Okay, adding 0 to something also leaves it unchanged. But like I was saying before, these are important for more abstract algebraic structures like groups, rings, and fields. They're one of the fundamental properties of those algebraic structures. And he doesn't know what any of that means. He never will, because he can't even understand numbers or even letters. He doesn't even understand why we use letters in math. He gets that wrong. He doesn't use them right. We're very near the end here, so let's see what he's got. And nevertheless, let's explore the ruins of the identity property and see what relics await. See what relics. Oh my god. The Jim Crow laws. Oh, wow. Yeah, white and so segregation. The Jim Crow of mathematics. I did scroll past this in a previous video, and it's so racist and offensive. Oh, it's the end of his proof. So, his wonderful proof. He ends it with a racist cartoon. Real classy there, Terry. And that, my friends, is Terrence Howard's false and dumb, quote-unquote, proof that 1 times 1 equals 2. Thanks a lot, everyone, for watching. I appreciate it. Go check out my other material on Terrence Howard. I go through parts of his book pretty extensively. I debunk him and disprove basically everything that he says. Well, except for the stuff that's just too confusing to even address because it doesn't make any sense. This book is an embarrassment. This book is an atrocity. It's not a credit to mankind's innovation, to anything. This entire book is just complete misunderstanding and misapplying logic, and it's just awful. If you like the video, please give a like. It really does help out. It helps out with the algorithm. That way more people can watch these videos, and they tend to comment, and I get a lot of positive comments, and then occasionally I'll get like a Terrence Howard sympathizer in the comments that tries to tell me that he's right. Well, if you really believe he's right, watch this video and see if my take on it maybe enlightens you a little bit more to the world of Terrence Howard, the universe of Terrence Howard. All right, y'all. It's been fun. Have a great day.